Oh, hey, I didn't see you there. My name's Herb, and welcome to Herbscapes. This week's episode, we got a 2.5 gallon Planet Aquascape that'll blow your socks off. It's a tiny tank with big impact. Big ups to everybody that subscribed and liked in the last two videos. This is the third video on this channel. Stay tuned, because there's more to come, baby. Let's go. So for our substrate layer, we're going to go with a mixture of different things. So you can see I kind of have my substrate box here, so I kind of ran out, or maybe not ran out, but I don't have a lot of our standard aqua soil left. I just kind of have whatever's in this bag left over, which you can see isn't really too much. So I have a lot of this leftover media, and this is pretty much just like a cobbling of all kinds of stuff. I think it's like fluval, Amazonia, along with some like ceramic shrimp pellet balls and just sort of rocks and sand and stuff like that. I think either way, that's going to be pretty good as a like a basic aqua soil for our tank. I think our plants are going to like that a lot. And then something that I haven't shown before is this aquatic pond soil. So this is for like, I don't know, maybe like lilies or something like that. It's essentially just dirt, but it doesn't have too much like organic material like wood or stuff like that. But this is going to be an excellent source of nutrition for our aquarium plants. All right, so first things first, we're going to go ahead and get our nutrient layer in, and we're going to be using that pond soil like I just said. So let me grab one of my little pictures here. Well, first of all, let me get the rocks out of here. So I do like the way that these look, but obviously we can't get our nutrient layer in. There's rocks, so we'll come back to those. And we don't need a whole heck of a lot of this. In my experience with this, like less is more. So I just kind of like to go in and I know that I want to have a lot more of it in this back area than anything else. There's like big chunks and stuff in there. We need to kind of break those up. But I just kind of want to do a nice light layer kind of all throughout. That's kind of like more like a slightly more, these are like slightly more like clay-like chunks. You just kind of break those up. You don't want big chunks of anything. I think that might be a rock. That's a rock. That's say. All right. So nice light layer, nothing too crazy. And then what I really like to do is mix a little bit of fine gravel in with it. So I take some of the same, this is the same gravel that I used in our other tank. And I just like to toss that in. And this is essentially just to prevent it from maybe compacting too much. So I go ahead and I just mix all that together. So there's like pond soil and gravel, and you get left with this sort of nice, kind of rocky, these are rocks. Just like that. And then now that our nutrient layer is in, let's get some root tabs. Got about 3 of these. I think you could probably definitely put more than 3, but we're gonna put more in a second. I really like to layer the nutrients so that it's not just all in one spot. Ugh, perfect. All right, that's done. Now we can go ahead and move on to the next layer of our substrate, which is that leftover soil. Let's add a little bit more nutrients to this. We'll do the UN contra soil over the rest of the root tabs that I'm going to put in here. And all right, now that the substrate layers are done, and you know, I do take a little bit more time with the substrates in these videos, kind of talking and explaining, because in my experience, it really is the sort of most important puzzle piece within the aquarium that's kind of the most mysterious and hard to figure out. So I do tend to talk a little bit more about that, because it was definitely, I would say, the most difficult part for me to figure out. All right, you can see that the hardscape is pretty much done. So, you know, with an Imagumi, it's all about simplicity. So I just chose some really raw, some really beautiful kind of serious stone that I kind of just honestly had laying around that I've been wanting to kind of use. I think if you can see that crack between those two rocks look like they were kind of meant to be together. I think that looks really, really nice. And that third island, or sorry, that secondary sort of rock off to the side kind of balances the scape, I think, a little bit better. But I think once all the plants are in here, that this tank is really, really going to sing. Yeah. So let's go ahead and just let's get to planting, and we can talk about how we're going to do that, which is also a little bit different than our last video. We don't have as many plants this time, just because it's half the size of a tank. So let's go ahead and get these plants prepped, and then we can go ahead and start getting these planted in the tank. We can't forget to spray our plants, make sure they don't get too dried out. Let's go ahead and spray the rest of the tank too. Okay, so we got the crypts in, we got all of the stem plants in the back end, and then we got all of our dwarf sedge. And I'm going to go around the side, you guys can kind of see a little bit better. Yeah, you see it's all kind of back there. And because you're dealing with herbscapes, we're going to have a bit of a different take on a carpet. And I'm going to attempt to do a Juncus repens carpet in this thing. I don't think I've ever seen that before. It might not be that uncommon, but I've never seen that. So let's go ahead and get that going. last video, we ended up capping this soil. And I know maybe some of you are kind of wondering, why didn't we do that again? It's because it's really not necessary. You know, I capped the soil because I like the way that looks a little bit better. If I'm seeing the soil, I don't really want to see the soil in that other tank. You could definitely see a little bit more of the actual bottom of the tank. But if we are going to be kind of trying to grow this carpet over the front end of that, it really doesn't matter too much, because I'm going to cover up all of this soil with this junk and throw-ins. Just trying to kind of completely cover up as much of it as I possibly can. And with that, let's go ahead and get this thing filled up. All right, got the water filled in, but you can see that there's all that scum at the top. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna put on a surface skimmer, and we're gonna get the filter going. And then we're gonna add our beneficial bacteria, our plant fertilizer, and we'll be ready to go. All right, so we got the filter going, a little hang on back, just like our other tank, and we got our surface skimmer going, and that's just going to clean any muck or anything like that that floats to the surface. So let's go ahead and get our beneficial bacteria and some of our plant fertilizer, and this tank will be in waiting mode. All right, it's the next day, and it's looking like our bacterial colony is definitely making the water look pretty cloudy. This is exactly what you are definitely looking for in a tank, like the next day after you set it up, after you get the bacteria in there. All that cloudiness is essentially just the bacteria in the water, and it's just trying to find places like the rocks or the biomaterial in the filter to colonize, and then from there, as soon as it finds its home and settles in, the water will clear up on its own, and then we'll just keep testing. And over the next about for a tank this size, 2.5 gallons, I'd say about a week or so, it'll be completely cycled, and then we'll be able to put, you know, our shrimp or our snails or whatever we're going to put in here. We haven't really made our decision yet. So, yeah, for this stage in the game, I think this is looking really, really good. So, yeah, we'll be right back with an update. All right, it's 2 weeks in, and this aquarium is looking absolutely gorgeous. The Juncus repens grew in beautifully. The Cryptoludi in the back looks great. The dwarf sage looks great. Our big, broad, leafy plants here look beautiful. The water conditions are showing a little bit of nitrates, but that's to be expected for a tank that's only about 2 weeks old. I managed to get my hands on some dwarf frog bits, or just frog bit. Yeah, ISO down there a little bit. There you go. Oh, it looks so gorgeous. It's so hard to get this in California, so I was able to find this at my local aquarium shop. Luckily, shout out to the Aquarium and Reptile Depot here in Sacramento. Those guys are awesome. If you're ever in Sacramento, go check those guys out. They have everything you're going to need. Not sponsored by them or anything, but or affiliated, but I just love that place. So we were able to go ahead and get some other plants today. So we're actually going to switch some things around a little bit. We're going to take those 2 plants out of the back. I love them, but I think when I first thought of doing an Iwagumi tank, you think of minimalism, you think of simplicity, and I think that is a little bit more complicated. That's more jungle style. While it looks good, I think we can do a little bit better. So I actually have some cypress that we're going to put in there instead. It's like a long grassy plant. It's going to grow up. It's almost like a Valicinia. We have some japonica that we're going to put in the back as well. And then we're going to bolster the numbers of our Juncus repens. We're going to add a little bit more. We're going to fill out that carpet. We're going to make it look absolutely beautiful. And I also have some more dwarf sage that we're actually going to be able to put in the back as well. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, we got those plants out. Let's go ahead and drain this water a little bit, make it a little bit easier to work with. Once again, we got our dirty change bucket. If you watched our last video on our DIY water change system, it's the same bucket. You know how I do it. A little bit of nylon tubing with an end fitting, and then my Python flow starter. Again, not sponsored by Python, but if you want an easy way to start a flow, just throw that in the water, pump that a couple times, and you got a siphon. You know how we do it. We got to prep our plants. We got our cypress on the right there. We got our japonica in the middle, dwarf baby sage, or just dwarf sage, and then our Juncus repens. Let's go ahead and get these in the tank. Let's get them planted, and hopefully this looks a lot better than the one we did before. This is a lesson in don't be afraid to change things. You know, maybe you don't find what you're looking for or exactly what you wanted to find the first time you go to the plant store. You get what you can. You come home, you set it up. Maybe it's not what you want. You go back to the plant store the next day, and guess what? They have exactly what you want. Rip that old stuff out, man. Put some new stuff in there. There's no reason why you can't do that. Don't be afraid to get your hands wet. Get what you want. Be happy. This is your tank. Don't be afraid to experiment. And most importantly of all, don't be afraid to fail. So let's get it going. And just like that, we successfully did what we set out to do today, which is to make sure that this tank looks a little bit more cohesive with itself. I think it looks a little bit better as an Iwagumi style tank. I think that the Junkus Weapons in the front is working excellently, as actually beyond my expectations of a carpet. So we'll get to see how that turns out. I think I might need to do a little bit of trimming, keep it down. I'm going to need to do some propagation of it, but it works so well and it propagates so easy. I don't think I'm going to have a problem with that. As the dwarf sage in the back grows in, as the cypress grows in, as the japonica grows in, I think this tank is going to evolve and it's going to look even better every single day. We're going to be able to get you guys an update in the next coming weeks. But as always, if you're taking water out of your tank and considering that this tank isn't a cycle tank, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add my Microbacter 7. Brightwell Aquatics is an amazing brand. The Microbacter 7 is some of the best nitrifying bacteria that you can use. It works for reef tanks, freshwater tanks. This is exactly what I use in all my tanks. This is what I recommend that you guys use. I'm not associated with Brightwell Aquatics. I didn't get any kind of sponsorship from them at all. I'm not associated with them, but I bought this with my own money because this is what I always use in every tank that you see in my studio. So this is what I recommend that you guys use. Yet again, guys, we are done with this aquarium for the time being. I'm going to get some good shots for you guys. Please like, subscribe, share. Please join me on this journey as I create these beautiful aquascapes in my home. Please attempt these, comment on this video, share it with somebody you think might like this kind of content. If you like this kind of thing, please like, subscribe, and share this video. It helps me out, it helps the channel out, it helps me be able to do these videos for you guys. I'd love to be able to form some kind of community with you here on YouTube. I'd love to be able to share my knowledge about this and spread the word about how easy it can be and convenient it can be to actually have these aquariums in our homes. I think everybody deserves to be able to have a beautiful aquarium, or at least have access to the information about how to do a beautiful aquarium. So please like, subscribe, share this video with your friends. Until then, guys, I'll catch you later.